Hey, welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming out to support your local media institutions, KXCI, Community Radio, and Access Tucson, public access television and community media for Tucson. It's a real honor to be here and also to be back in Tucson. Needless to say, the Fox Theatre is such an incredibly historic venue, and so to be here again is a treat. You have preserved this as a community, and it's a gem, and it's wonderful to be here. I also want to take a moment to thank C-SPAN for being here, BookTV, a real public treasure, a daily source of news and education for millions of people in this country. Without C-SPAN, so much of what happens in Washington would remain a real mystery. And so I do want to thank you all for being here. If you watch C-SPAN as much as I do, you see the slate, the graphic that comes on that says cable's gift to America, or cable's gift, and it is a gift. It is wonderful that it exists under the leadership of Brian Lamb. It's grown so much. A couple things that should be done that will require public pressure are, one, to bring cameras into the U.S. Supreme Court. We've got C-SPAN 1, 2, and 3, and we want the 9 justices, their clerks, and all the activities surrounding the court, perhaps the C-SPAN 4. But certainly, and then another interesting, and this is kind of insider baseball, but there's been a fight going on for years, and Brian Lamb can tell me how many decades he's been fighting this, but the cameras in Congress, which you own, that's the People's House, and the cameras are all part of C-SPAN's infrastructure in the 2 chambers. Ought to be at the control of the people that own the building, us. But the incumbents, those who occupy the seats, those who we send there, those who receive now increasingly secretive donations through the Super PAC system, post-Citizens United, passed by 1 vote in the untelevised U.S. Supreme Court, those people do not allow the cameras to be swiveled or moved. The camera angles that C-SPAN has access to in the 2 main chambers of Congress, the Senate and the House, are fixed cameras, and so you can't see who's there, who's not there, who's sleeping, who's kibitzing with whoever. So it's there's a wide shot when they're doing the vote tallies, but really we need, and I work in TV with Democracy Now!, and to make TV compelling and interesting and informative, you need to have the flexibility to use the camera, the tripod, the zoom, and so that's, you get people's reactions. I mean, we just saw the other night the vice presidential debate, and probably what was less informative and less memorable about that wasn't what Paul Ryan was saying, but the reaction shots of Vice President Biden. I think that it's been talked about a lot. But so it's important that we help C-SPAN in their fight to compel our employees, the representatives in Congress, to open up the camera shots. And of course, those 9 appointed for life justices in the Supreme Court, while there are audio streams available and audio archives of their arguments, really to engage the public, you need television, the audio is available for radio, but we need to open up that. So it's just as a thanks to C-SPAN again, but also we can engage to make it better, more powerful, and more responsive to our needs as a democracy. So I'm here with my friend, colleague, a true, courageous, disciplined, award-winning journalist, Amy Goodman, as part of what we're dubbing a 100-city tour. I'm hoping that we're over halfway. We've kind of lost track. But the point of this was we have a book out, The Silenced Majority, Stories of Uprisings, Occupations, Resistance, and Hope. We just heard from our publisher that it hit the New York Times bestseller list. Thank you. And it's gratifying. It is obviously gratifying, but it's really, for me, it's important that what we try to document in the book, it's a collection of columns and some special pieces written for the book, but it's about, as the title suggests, is that, you know, we are not alone. We are part of a silenced majority, that we have a media system that caters to the whims of corporations and the elites, and we need to have a media system that is controlled and respects and is responsive to the mass of people who are organizing for social justice, for change here in the United States and around the world. So this is kind of what the point of the book, our work on a weekly column that gets distributed around the country and the world. And then this 100-city tour, using the book as kind of an organizing tool to bring about events like this, primarily fundraisers for public community media institutions like KXCI, like Access Tucson. Another note about Access Tucson, I mean, this is really the first place that Democracy Now! Did a live TV remote broadcast from. And it was with the help of KXCI and Access Tucson, well, I think over 10 years ago, and it was wild. Live TV, a lot can go wrong doing live broadcasting. For example, the other morning at 3 a.m., I had to meet a satellite crew and our host at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. It was Columbus Day, and Fort Lewis College has a very large Native American population, indigenous history with the indigenous population here in the U.S. And the student, staff, and faculty had organized the Real History of the Americas Day, a 10-hour program kind of representing their personal and kind of ancestral history with, as a consequence of Christopher Columbus's discovery, so-called, of the United States and the Western Hemisphere. So we went to broadcast that morning. We had to be there at 3 a.m. in order to set up a TV studio on the fly, but in order to go live at 6 a.m. Mountain Time. And so very eager to get to work at 3 a.m., we met our host at Fort Lewis College, and she said, "We can't go in the building yet." And I was like, "Oh, what now?" And she says, "At least not until that bear gets off the loading dock." So, of the many thousands of things that can go wrong with live broadcast, and I live in Denver, Colorado, and I spend time in the high country, and there's increasingly, bears are becoming, this year in particular, dependent on our refuse for their survival because of the drought, the light snowpack. They didn't sleep as long, and there's not as much sustenance for them in the high country that they're used to in the forest. So they're coming down and scavenging, crossing streets. As we were there, the mother bear, it turned out, we figured, because two cubs also popped out of the dumpster. So they, with some cajoling, hand clapping, and shouting, eventually went to find some other repast. But that was one of the examples of what can go wrong. But so we did our first broadcast here, our live remote broadcast as a TV production, and at Access Tucson. And I just want to say, Access Tucson is an important institution. Community media institutions help weave the fabric of a community. And so it's very important to protect and preserve. They used to have 4 channels. They're now down to 1 channel. Their funding stream was hard-earned through the battles in the public in the 60s and 70s to create a system whereby cable companies who enjoy the access, the use of our streets to run their cables have to give back to the community. This is something that should be pretty common sense to everyone, regardless of your political persuasion. The cable companies in their bills will sneak in a line that says cable access fee, but it's really not fee. You own the rights of way to your streets, your sidewalks, and when cable companies want to dig them up and rent them from you, they have to pay rent. It's public rights of way that they're accessing in order to provide what is really, globally speaking, substandard internet and a wealth of channels, wealth being kind of not necessarily the right word, but 1,000 channels. And in order to get that to you, the paying customer, they need to use your public rights of way, and you are entitled to and ought to demand that they pay rent in the form of a cable franchise fee and a robust array of channels and services. There's no reason that Access Tucson in this digital age should be realized